Hello again, everybody. Today we are doing maintenance on the Atom 80. This is the motor that I purchased from Bin, also known as Paramotor in C, and it is due for some work. According to the tach here, 100.6 hours. So I knew this would happen because I bought it used and it was already pretty well used. So we are going to install some parts. So we got starter pawl rebuild, new starter cable, air filter, and new bands to hold that on, all new gaskets, new piston ring, new rollers, new roller bearings, new wrist pin, seals for the crankshaft, all kinds of fun stuff for seals and reeds on the carburetor, new lock nuts for the cylinder head, and new gearbox oil, plus a spark plug. So let's get at it. Okay, old filter comes out, you just give it a good yank. New filter going right back in. Gonna have to squish it down on one side, get that ridge seated into the air box. There we go. Okay, after you've got the air box off, you remove the hose, and the hose, it's 2 screws down here in the carburetor to pull the whole assembly off. Oh, and of course, don't forget to remove the hardware that's holding your throttle cable on. Alright, well, this isn't a how-to guide, but just to show you everything that goes into the maintenance. Everything in there, including this little guy, needs to be replaced. Quite a bit of fun. Wow, so yeah, lots of little pieces here till you get down to bare metal, and then reassemble with the new parts that came in with the kit and put it back together. I didn't have to touch the metering screws. Hopefully I don't have to. That'd be nice. Well, let me just say, this little screen here held in by a little C-clip was an absolute nightmare, but got it in there. Don't sneeze, you'll blow these things all over the place. Okay, other side of the carburetor, we've got to replace all this too. Nothing much left to it. We'll knock this out real quick. Got some, this is one of the filters out of the other side of the carburetor. Got some gunk growing on it there. See that? Kind of flaking off. I don't know what that is. Looks, well, looks and smells and feels oil-based after you crunch it up. Anyways, just make sure those screens are clean. And that's the carburetor. Took me almost an hour. Well, I'd say somebody's running rich. But anyways, gotta take the spark plug out, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws and bolts to get this cooling shroud off. We're gonna dive into the engine itself. Okay, head bolts off, and now we are taking off the exhaust to be able to slide this cylinder up and off and get to the piston. These screws are like embedded, and they're a real pain in the butt because this larger black metal piece didn't come off the exhaust. So pop the springs loose. I'll put some moly coat down there, and now we got the cylinder head off. Ooh, there it is. And there goes all the washers. There's a rip forming there. So, good time to do this. Base of the cylinder. We'll swap that out and get a new one on. Okay, pulling the cylinder off. There's a little ring that goes right inside that hole that holds the wrist pin in place. This little guy. You just stick a little pick in there and pop it up. Now the wrist pin should slide right out. Just yoinked that out. Push on the back with a hook pick, and then pull on the front with the pair of pliers. The 100-hour kit comes with a new wrist pin, so you don't have to worry about not damaging the wrist pin. Of course, you don't want to damage the cylinder or the piston, so careful on that. We're also replacing the roller bearing in the top of the rod. I took off the front gearbox to see if I could get to the front crank seal. It doesn't look like it's super easy, and it's not leaking, so I don't think I'm going to go for that. But in the back here is that cooling fan, and that's the reason for the whole plastic shroud, is to blow air over the cooling fins. I figure you might like this visual. So down here in the front is the clutch, which slings outwards, and in the back is that fan. Okay, next are the reed valves, which is pretty easy to do. It's just 4 bolts here behind where the carburetor goes. They come on out, replacing all the seals and the reed pedals. It's these little flappy guys. That's what lets air in but not out. Yeah, so the reed valves are just these little plastic pedal looking things. They are held on with 2 screws, no big deal. And then we'll replace the gaskets on it and throw it back on there so we can get the carburetor back on it.
What is this?
That's the piston.
No, it's all black.
Yeah, it's because it burns things and that gets
It
stuck
shouldn't be
to
black like that.
Anyways, couldn't film it, but what are you doing?
I'm just feeling it.
What?
Why is it so hot?
Because I heated this. I'm about to explain it.
Oh.
Couldn't film it because I had to move fast, but heated the piston with a blowtorch and then had the wrist pin stuck in the freezer. So the wrist pin shrunk, the piston expanded, and then I just slid that right in there. No problem. I've already got the clip in the back, and now I'm going to fit a clip to the front of it, and then the wrist pin roller bearing, and I've also already put the ring on the piston. All that's done. Peeling off this lower cylinder gasket, make sure you're not dropping anything into the engine here. That can cause some problems. Alright, so just like the Moster, you've got to take a piece of the original gasket that wasn't damaged, measure it with a pair of calipers, and select the right size out of 5 different ones that comes with the kit to put back on the base of the crank. Alright, the cylinder sleeve back on, and piston is in. Okay, carburetor's back on. It's those 4 bolts. I've torque striped them, and then 2 more on the inside. I'm going to cut the fuel line down just a little shorter because that is now very easy to put on and slip right back off. So I'm going to cut the hose a little shorter so that that doesn't come off quite as easily. On the cylinder head, we need the new O-ring. Of course, it doesn't just sit up there in that groove while I flip it over, so I had to place it down here, equidistant apart. We slide this guy back on, make sure you get the orientation right. It's off-centered slightly, and then we've got the new head nuts. Okay, this block is separate to the exhaust, so I pried it off. There are 2 O-rings inside and 1 on the back flange that sticks right on there, so replacing those. Okay, had to take the engine off for this next part, but now I've got to change some bits on the pole starter, like the pawls, the rope itself, and also some of the springs, so let's dive into it. Okay, well, the engine mounts have to come off to get to the starter anyway, so I guess I'll replace them, because this one is all, like, crusty. It feels like it's falling apart on me, so new engine mounts it is. Okay, pull start time. This little spring comes off, these little feet get replaced, and then I have to rewind the cord because this one is actually looking a little long in the tooth, so I am going to replace all of that. This shall be fun. Okay, actually, good news, bad news. Good news is I don't have to replace this. The bad news is because that bolt just spins. So I can't pull this off without pulling the spring off, so I'm going to leave the rope. This whole cylinder looks fine. I'll put some lubricant down there on the inside, a little grease, and put new grab, pawl, spring things, whatever, on there. And then I will just order another whole pull starter to just have on hand because there's no way I am popping this thing apart and getting it back together in the same time. If you ever wondered how the pull starts, just barely gripping on it. As soon as those teeth out, then it spins, and then when you let go, it retracts back in. Pretty cool. Alright, that was a pain in the butt, but I got that back on, and now routing and plumbing everything back on again. Also replaced some of these, this is a Fresh Breeze frame. They put this tight string back here and it had a broken section, so replace that, whatever. Not engine related. Alright, going back together now, just throwing this cooling shroud back on. And of course, who could forget? Draining of the oil. Ew. Alright, so it comes out thick and pitch black. Yum. Cleaning off the drain plug. I don't know if you can tell, there's little shavings of metal on there because the tip is magnetic, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that. There's no way those were only 10 Newton meters. Come on. Okay. Fresh Breeze. Adam 80. $100 service. But will it start? Off to a great start. Just primed a bunch more fuel into it. Considering how much came out when I took the carburetor apart, probably everything in there is dry. Ooh. Ha-ha! Yeah! Woo! Fuck, that's hot. Well, there you go. Adam 80's back in service, and good timing too, because the Moster now needs a 100-hour service, and it has a broken airbox because of the warranty. So I'll be flying this for a while. Thanks for watching. Check out the rest of the channel if you like flying things. Most of it's paramotors, but not all of it. We'll see you around next time. Peace.